Half-Life 2 is a good game. I can talk about how Half-Life 2 innovated with its new physics engine and the top-of-the-line facial animation, but you guys already know that. I have not finished the game yet, I'm about 3 chapters away from the end, but I can say at this point that I do like it. Half-Life 2 is surprisingly less of a tactical shooter than the first Half-Life, with the former having dumber AI and less weapons to play around with. I figured that they would learn from Half-Life 1 and make the gunplay more strategic for the sequel, but blasting your way through a corridor is a viable option in this game, when that would absolutely kill you in the original. Yeah, so I think that Half-Life 2's gameplay is more catered for general audiences, and while the combat might be more bland than the original, it is more accessible and holds up for the most part. While I have some criticisms for the game, like some of the levels being far too long and the vehicles not controlling great, I feel that it's more personal preference, or Half-Life 2 being a product of its time than anything else. Instead, the main topic of this video is the stupid flashlight system in the game. In Half-Life 2, when you sprint, use the flashlight, or go underwater, they all use up the same energy bar. This is ridiculous, and I have no idea why Valve would even consider making fairly simple actions so annoying. I know that in Half-Life 1, you could only use the flashlight for a limited amount of time, but it definitely lasted for much longer than in Half-Life 2, and you didn't have to juggle sprinting and breathing underwater when you decided to use it. I know that Gordon Freeman is just a regular guy, and in the first game you had to take care of the military with strategy instead of brute force. However, Half-Life 2 shouldn't cripple you for wanting to use the torch and sprint at the same time. Valve knew they fucked up, because from what I know, they did add a separate flashlight meter into Half-Life 2 Episode 2. This would make my previous points invalid if they went back to the original Half-Life 2 and fixed the flashlight system, but no. I'm also aware that you can go into the console and fix it yourself, but I can't be fucked, to be honest. This small blemish in Half-Life 2 is really annoying, but that doesn't make the rest of the game bad or anything. Half-Life 2 is not overrated, and I hate when people say that a revolutionary or popular game is, just because it doesn't meet their standards or they play it 20 years after said game was released. In fact, Half-Life 2 makes me want to go back to play the original game, as I wasn't the biggest fan of it and I'm probably due for another playthrough. See you next time.